My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old. At my sister's engagement party, my aunt unveiled a family gift. The business I built from scratch, transferred into my sister's name. My mom beamed. She deserves a fresh start. I looked over. My name had been quietly removed from every document. I smiled. It was time she started something on her own. That night, I took 2 quiet steps. Then my sister texted at 6:13 a.m. "Where is everything?" I replied. "Check the delivery door." Because what arrived that afternoon quietly changed everything. It was time she started something on her own. That's all I said. No yelling, no scene, just those 7 words. Calm, cold, and final. But let's rewind a few hours. The engagement party was in full swing. Fairy lights, catered sushi, champagne towers, the whole curated Instagram aesthetic. My sister Leia stood in the center in her pearl white dress, glowing like this was a royal coronation, not a family ambush. Before we cut the cake, Aunt Linda clinked her glass and stood up. "We have a very special family gift to unveil." I was mid-sip of my drink when she said it. My stomach tightened, but I didn't expect this. As you all know, Rachel has built a beautiful business these last few years. Built. Not runs, not owns. Aunt Linda turned to the crowd with a proud smile. But it's time for a fresh start for Laya. She's ready to take it to the next level. So, the family has decided. She paused for dramatic effect, to transfer the business fully into her name. Applause. Laya gasped and covered her mouth like she was on reality TV. Mom dabbed her eyes. "She deserves it," she whispered to my uncle. "She's starting a new chapter. She's been through so much." I stared at the projection screen behind them. My company's logo flashed, but with a twist. Underneath the title, my name was gone, scrubbed out. Everything I'd built, my late nights, my sacrifice weekends, the years I spent turning that company from a dusty garage startup into a multi-state distributor, erased in a single ceremony. No warning, no heads up, just surprise. "She's going to do amazing," someone whispered beside me. I looked around. Nobody noticed I was still standing there. Nobody thought to ask why I wasn't smiling. I smiled anyway. I walked slowly up to the stage. I took the mic from Aunt Linda gently. It was time she started something on her own. And I walked out. That night, I took 2 quiet steps. Ones they wouldn't notice until it was far too late. At 6:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Rachel, where is everything?" "Me. Check the delivery door." Because what arrived that afternoon? That was the beginning of the real story. I built this business from the ground up. No investors, no startup capital, no rich uncle, just me, a secondhand laptop, and a dream that barely paid for instant ramen. In the beginning, while my sister was busy finding herself in Bali and getting over her latest breakup with some guy named Tim, I was spending 100-hour weeks sleeping under my desk and teaching myself e-commerce coding at 3 a.m. The first person who asked me for a favor once things got rolling? My mom. "She's really struggling right now," she said one evening, swirling her wine. "Maybe you could let Laya help out, just until she's back on her feet." Help out. That was always the phrase they used when they meant take care of her again. I brought Laya in as an intern. No pay, no pressure. I figured maybe it would give her some routine, a reason to get up before noon. She showed up late, left early, spent more time posing for photos than actually working. One time, she mislabeled a shipment and sent $300 worth of hand-poured candles to the wrong customer. When I asked her to double-check next time, Mom called that evening. "She's sensitive, Rachel. You can't talk to her like she's one of your factory workers. She's family." Family always meant I had to swallow my frustration while she floated above accountability. When I opened our first warehouse space, Laya asked for a little creative nook. She brought in a gold mirror, some boho pillows, and a ring light. Soon, she was tagging herself in every social post. "She has the aesthetic," Mom said proudly. "You have the mind. You're a perfect team." Team, right? She had the photo shoots, I had the payroll. Things escalated last year. I walked into the office and noticed the logo had changed, subtly but noticeably. "Bloom," it said now in cursive. Underneath, founder, Laya Monroe. I didn't approve that. When I confronted her, she waved a hand. "It's a branding update. Mom said it sounds more feminine, more spiritual." "This is my company," I said flatly. "You're being controlling again." The next day, I received a notice from our accountant, a tax form addressed to Laya Monroe, owner. When I called to clarify, she sounded confused. "Your mom already signed the transfer papers, said it was a family decision." That's when it hit me, quietly. While I was running the company, they were rearranging ownership. They used my trust, my exhaustion, my loyalty. They didn't argue, didn't threaten. They just slowly erased me. And when the engagement party invitation arrived with the tagline, "Come celebrate Laya's year of transformation, new love, new business," I knew. I went anyway, not for them, for the moment. The moment I'd look my mother in the eye and realize she never saw me as the owner, just the builder, the workhorse, the one who sacrifices so that Laya could shine. And when Aunt Linda raised that champagne glass and announced that the company was a gift for our radiant bride-to-be, I didn't interrupt. Not yet. But inside, a switch flipped, and that's when I made my first quiet move. They wouldn't realize it until the next morning, until 6:13 a.m. to be precise, when Leia texted me in all caps, "Where is everything?" And I replied, "Check the delivery door." 6:13 a.m. My phone lit up with a message from Leia. "Where is everything?" I took a sip of coffee and smiled, then typed, "Check the delivery door." The silence lasted all of 10 seconds before the rest came in. "Is this a bad joke? Why is the site gone? All inventory is missing. Where are the files? I swear to God, Rachel." I didn't respond because she already knew. Somewhere deep in her gut, Leia knew exactly what I had done, or rather, what I had undone. At that very moment, while she was sprinting through the office in her little cream pantsuit, opening empty drawers, screaming at the warehouse staff, or what was left of them, I was sitting across the street. A perfect view. One black coffee, one laptop, one woman sitting quietly nearby, letting things unfold on their own. Let me be crystal clear. I didn't destroy anything. I just rolled back the fraud. I just reclaimed what I had built. You see, I never left the keys under the mat. Even when they forged the transfer paperwork, rewrote contracts, slapped Laya's name on things she never touched, they didn't change the login, didn't lock me out of the cloud, didn't even think to revoke my admin access. Because to them, I wasn't a threat. I was just Rachel, the quiet one, the builder, the mule. So when I left her engagement party, when I dropped the mic with, "It was time she started something on her own," I already knew my next step. By midnight, I was at the warehouse. The security guard let me in without blinking. He recognized me. I signed his paychecks. At 1:12 a.m., 2 box trucks backed into the loading dock. Every shelf, every box, every barcode in that place was tagged under my purchase orders. The pallets weren't Leia's. The products weren't hers. The servers were leased in my name. The labels were designed by a freelancer I hired. I had receipts, all of them. And when I pulled out the backup hard drives, disconnected the local systems, and wiped the showroom floor, no one tried to stop me. Because legally, ethically, and functionally, she had built nothing. The website was built on a CMS platform I'd coded from scratch. The domain was bought 6 years ago under my personal account. I logged in, redirected the URL, shut down the store, and left a simple landing page. "We'll be back soon. Rachel." No drama, no press release, no rage post on Instagram, just a razor. Exactly what they had done to me. I chose silence because that's what they once gave me. By 10:42 a.m., the first phone call came. "Mom." I let it ring. She called again. Third time, I answered. Her voice came through like fire. "What the hell did you do?" she snapped. "Leia went in this morning and there's nothing there." "Correct," I said calmly, because none of it was hers. There was a pause, a short, stunned silence. Then she switched tones, guilt-tripping. "This is not how we handle things in this family." I nearly laughed. "No, because sneaking behind my back to reassign ownership of my company is perfectly acceptable." "You're being petty, Rachel." "No, I'm being exact, correcting a decision that was made without my consent." She changed tactics. Her voice dropped into that performative heartbreak tone I knew too well. "She's devastated. She's crying. She's embarrassed in front of Jordan's whole family. She thought you'd support her." "Support her by giving her what she didn't earn? Again?" "You always had more than her. You're the capable one. She needed a fresh start." I snapped. "And I needed a family that didn't treat me like a machine they could harvest." Silence. Then she said something that, to this day, echoes like a curse. "If you really loved her, you'd have let her keep it." My throat clenched. "If she really loved me," I said coldly, "she never would have taken it in the first place." Click. I ended the call. Not 5 minutes passed before my phone buzzed again. Laya. This time I answered. She didn't scream. She whispered, "You humiliated me. You put yourself in this position. I just revealed the truth." "I didn't mean to hurt you." That almost got me. "You signed off on replacing me. Quietly. Systematically. You called that deserved. You watched my name disappear from everything and never once asked if I was okay." "I was told Don't give me the mom said excuse. You're a grown woman with a college degree. If you want to steal, own it. Silence. Then, barely audible, what am I supposed to do now? What you should have done from the start. Build your own real business. She started crying. This time I didn't feel anything. No rage, no pity, no victory. Just silence. The kind that finally feels clean. That afternoon, the backlash exploded. Vendors started pulling out. I'd already warned them that Leia's bloom was no longer legitimate. Customers who had pre-orders received polite refund notices with my signature. Jordan's parents, big fans of self-made entrepreneurs, called off the wedding brunch. Her future mother-in-law, I'm told, was livid. By evening, Leia's Instagram, once a shrine to aesthetics, was on private. But me? I went live. New name, new logo, new narrative, same quality. Rachel and Company, a quiet reintroduction. And this time, no one would erase me. The first night after I took back what was mine, I didn't sleep in a bed. I passed out on the floor of my apartment, still in my jeans, still wearing the same shirt from the engagement party, the collar stiff with old champagne. Someone had accidentally spilled on me during the toasts. But I slept harder than I had in years. The next morning, I didn't check my phone, didn't open my email, didn't even look at the news alerts or my business dashboards. I just sat. The air in my apartment felt different, lighter, like someone had opened a window in a house that had been sealed for a decade. And in that silence, that glorious, humbling, golden silence, I realized something. I hadn't just taken back my business. I'd taken back myself. My time, my name, my worth. And I wasn't giving any of it away again. Meanwhile, chaos bloomed across town. Leia's Company collapsed like a badly built tent. No product, no site, no vendors, no trust. Even the followers who loved her pastel aesthetic began questioning things. My inbox flooded. Former clients, vendors, friends, strangers. People wanted to know the truth. But more importantly, they wanted to buy. Rachel and Company wasn't just a business. It was suddenly a movement. The relaunch line, Rebuild, sold out in 36 hours. I had to call 3 different suppliers to keep up. And while I was busy managing that, I started getting messages from her former employees. I quit after the rebrand. It didn't feel right. I stayed quiet too long. Do you need help with fulfillment? I believed in your leadership. I still do. We reassembled the team within a week. Same faces, different energy. No fear, no fake smiles, no walking on eggshells around the golden child. Mom, of course, did what she always did when the family reputation was at risk. She tried to rewrite history. First came the voicemails. I just think this all got blown out of proportion. You've made your point, Rachel. Isn't it time to be the bigger person again? Then the social posts, cryptic quotes about forgiveness, resilience, and how family will always be more important than business. Cute. Then she came to my apartment unannounced. She stood in the hallway clutching some half-hearted peace offering, a bag of lemon muffins from the same bakery she'd once told me was too pricey for someone with your budget. I didn't open the door. I just watched her through the peephole as she stood there, shifting from one foot to the other, clearly rehearsing a speech she thought would melt my resolve. After a while, she left. She hasn't come back since. Dad stayed silent. He always does. But one day, I saw him across the street from the new warehouse. He stood next to his car, arms folded, staring at the building. Not moving, not coming in, just watching. Like he wanted to say something, but didn't know where to start. Or maybe he knew he no longer had the right to start anything. He never reached out, not until she did. It was around week 3 when I received an email from someone I hadn't spoken to in 10 years. Noah, my ex, the only person besides me who had ever worked behind the scenes when the company was just me and a folding table in a shared co-working space. He had left when things got too heavy, not because he didn't love me, but because I didn't know how to make room for him. I was always working, always building, always afraid that if I looked away, it would all disappear. His email subject line, "You did it." Inside, I saw what happened. The whole internet did. What they did to you was unforgivable, but what you did, that was strength. I'm proud of you, Rachel. Not just for taking back the company, but for finally choosing yourself. P.S. I still keep one of your candles on my nightstand, the eucalyptus one. I didn't expect to cry, but I did. Not for him, not exactly. I cried because that message, short, simple, was the first time in my adult life that someone told me they were proud of me without immediately asking for something in return. And just when I thought that was the twist I didn't see coming, the real one hit. It was Thursday afternoon when I received a legal letter. Not from my mother, not from Leia, from my father. It was a certified cease and desist, claiming he held partial ownership of the original LLC and thus had a right to recoup damages from the unauthorized liquidation of joint business assets. Translation? He wanted money. Not from Laya, from me. Because I'd taken back my company and made it successful again without them. I called my lawyer immediately. He read the letter, snorted. They're bluffing. He was never on the articles of incorporation. His name doesn't appear on a single contract. This is desperation. But you know what hit hardest? Not the letter, not the threat. It was the fact that after everything, my own father saw me not as a daughter, but as a paycheck. And that's when I made my final move. I wrote a public statement, posted it on the site, on socials, emailed it to customers. I started Rachel Ann Company from a couch with a borrowed laptop and a $17 bank balance. Over the years, I gave too much to people who gave nothing back. I allowed guilt and obligation to masquerade as love. No more. This business is not just about candles or soap or pretty packaging. It's about resilience, boundaries, reclamation. For those who've ever been used, silenced, or erased, this is for you. We're not just making products. We're making a point. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to win. It went viral. Within 24 hours, we were featured in 3 online publications. And Laya, she finally broke the silence. She messaged me, "He's trying to sue you because he can't admit he chose me and lost. I'm sorry, Rachel. I didn't deserve what you built, and you didn't deserve what we did to you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Some stories don't need closure. Some people don't get access anymore, especially the ones who tore you down while smiling. 6 months later, I stood in a sun-drenched studio, surrounded by eucalyptus leaves, blocks of soy wax, rolls of biodegradable packaging, and something unfamiliar but deeply welcome. Peace. Not the kind you pretend to feel at family dinners. Not the kind you perform when someone says you should be proud, but real, earned, unshakable peace. Rachel and Company didn't just survive the storm. It flourished. Our Rebuild candle line became a bestseller across 3 platforms. We were spotlighted in Forbes' Fast Company and a TEDx podcast called Burn It Down, Build It Better. We expanded into 2 new product lines. And I, for the first time in my life, felt free enough to breathe without calculating who needed what from me next. I no longer lived in fear of being taken for granted because I'd stopped offering myself as a discount. On the anniversary of our relaunch, we threw a small party for the staff. Nothing extravagant, just laughter, food, and stories about how far we'd come. The team surprised me with a cake that read, "From hijacked to hero. Congrats, boss." It made me laugh, then cry, then laugh again. Halfway through the celebration, my warehouse manager handed me a pale pink envelope. This came by courier. No name, no return address. But the handwriting looked important. It was Laya's, the same looped, dramatic cursive she used to write birthday cards when we were kids. I stepped out back, away from the noise and the music, and opened it. 2 sentences carefully printed. "The house is yours. You earned it. I found something in Dad's desk, and you need to see it." My hands trembled slightly as I pulled out a second item. A black USB drive. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop. Just 1 file. A video. Grainy. Unedited. Dated roughly 5 years back. The setting was unmistakable. The study at my parents' house. I clicked play. The camera was placed on a shelf facing the door. No one knew it was there. In walked my mother, then my father. Their voices were crystal clear. "Mom, if we make the move now, she won't even notice. She's traveling all month, trade shows and investor meetings." "Dad, what if she checks the contracts?" "Mom, she won't. Not if you're the one handing them to her. Just hide the change in the appendix. Leia's name, quietly." Dad sighed. "She works too hard to question us. That's the problem." Mom again smiling. "Exactly. That's why we're doing this." I froze. Everything inside me dropped into silence. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't miscommunication. They orchestrated it. They quietly arranged to take over the business I built without my knowledge and make me thank them for the honor. And then I saw the part that broke me all over again. Outside the door, half visible, stood a girl in a floral dress. Laya, watching, listening, tears in her eyes. She knew. Even then, she was aware of what they planned. But she stayed silent, out of fear. Not for years. Until now. That night, I did something I swore I'd never do again. I returned to my childhood home. Not to argue. Not to rage. Just to deliver. On the porch, under the same buzzing yellow light that once lit every forced apology of my youth, I placed the USB in a box. No note. No warning. Let the silence speak. Let the facts stand on their own. A few days later, I received an email from a journalist. He was running a feature on founders who rebuilt. He'd heard of my story, and now he'd spoken to Laya. Apparently, she gave him everything: emails, paperwork, even her private journals from those years. I agreed to meet her one last time. We sat at a quiet cafe, tucked away from cameras and comment sections. She looked different. No makeup, just freckles and fatigue. Why now? I asked. She stirred her tea without answering for a while. Because I watched you burn for years, and then I watched you walk through the ashes. She finally looked at me. They taught me to depend on you without question. I think I love the comfort of that too much to question it. She slid a folder across the table. Inside, a legal affidavit formally rescinding her claims of ownership. This is yours, fully, permanently, no more questions. You didn't have to. Yes, she said, I did for both of us. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. But when we left, there was air between us. Not ice. And that felt like enough. Final twist. The day the feature ran online, I got a phone call. Block number. Ms. Monroe, the voice said. This is Evelyn Grant Foundation's coordinator. We read your story. We help founders who've experienced intrafamily fraud and coercive financial control. I held my breath. We'd like to offer you a $250,000 grant to develop a mentorship program for others like you, to help them reclaim, rebuild, and rise. I exhaled. Not for the money, for the meaning. They took my story, but I rewrote it, and now it would help others do the same. Victory doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes quietly, powerfully, like a flame that refuses to be blown out, like a voice that finally stops whispering and learns to roar.